Hey, what it do, baby? Welcome to the Sin Army. Thank you guys so much for liking, watching, and subscribing. If you're watching from Facebook, from YouTube, thank you guys so much. I appreciate all the love. So something really funny happened. I'm sure it's happened to you guys. But to me, sometimes when I'm in my head and I'm thinking like, I wonder if this leader will be really good next set. So like I call the homies, and the homies are like, no, you're capping, that leader's trash. But sometimes I'm onto something. And you guys tell me if I'm onto something, right? So all of a sudden I'm thinking like, damn, so many leaders drop to 15, 16, especially like Soul Striker. So I'm like, damn, but Cell's gone. So people want to know what the next hand control leader is going to be, right? So I'm in my car. I call Kenny, VSA Army General. And I'm like, hey, yo, what do you think about this Super 17 from like 20 years ago? And he's like, bruh, how'd you know I was thinking about that? And I was like, pause. So anyway, so I go to locals. And the homies, two of the homies are testing this guy. And I'm like, yo, pause. Can you read my mind, my guy? And they're like, no, we're just playing. We're just kings playing hand destruction. And I'm like, I'm a king thinking about playing hand destruction. And I'm like, yo, were we thinking about Super 17? Bro, it was like 4 of us thinking about Super 17. And I'm like, are we onto something? Like, when we're like, beep, boop, boop, like our head. This is like what it must feel like with women, where women get their periods at the same time. Because they've been hanging out too much. I've been going to locals too much. Me and the homies are syncing up. You get me? So here's what the Super 17 leader does. For those of you that weren't around, back in like 20 years ago when Set 5 came out, this guy is a burst 2. And when he attacks, he draws a card. So he draws a card in burst 2. And then when you get to that 4 life, he untaps 2 energy. He's a green android, by the way, obviously. And then on the back, Super 17 Evil Entwined. By the way, I liked the Shatter Foil. You hate to see it. There were a lot of haters on the Shatter Foil, whatever. Sparking 5. When this card attacks, you draw 1, and this card gets critical for the duration of the turn. Activate main. If your opponent has 10 or more cards in hand, your opponent places cards from her hand in their drop area until they have 9 cards in hand. Okay, this is kind of sick because, like, you can do this as many times. Like, here's what we're talking about. It's an activate main that's not once per turn. So, like, if you get them to... If they have 10 cards in hand, right? Activate main, they go back to 9. They drop 1. And then you can, like, swing with a unison, right? And then if they take the life, they're going to have 1 more card in hand. And then activate main again, because it's not once per turn. So, like, you can... If you go wide with your board or happen to have a dual attacker or something, and they're taking life, then you can literally just take them down to 9. You can make them drop a card every time and make all of those attackers critical in a weird way. Kind of like that set 2 Gotenks. There was like a green one that when he attacked, he wasn't critical, but he made your opponent drop a card every time he swung, right? So anyway, and the fact that he's critical is so huge. So let's go into the deck that I'm thinking. By the way, there's so many ways to build this. I'd love to hear how you guys would build it. So like, for example, against like Soul Striker, motherfucker has like 16 cards in hand. Act like that shit's not gonna hurt to tell him to drop to fucking 9. So you're dropping 6. So it's like a free Ribrianne. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's a free Ribrianne times like 3 or some shit. So here's the list that I'm going for. One of the things that I really like about this leader is that he untaps 2. And I know that draw 2 is better right now. But with some of the cards in green, and green isn't as value as some of the other colors, so the on-tap 2 is not bad. And like, I know you want to draw 2 in a hand control deck, and it is better, and I totally agree. But you can take advantage of the on-tap 2 in this deck, especially with the new cards that have come out. Also, it's not like a surge leader where you're done. Like, you're done drawing as soon as you surge. You're still drawing and you're critical in the back. You know what I mean? I'm not saying this is better than Cell. I'm watching myself. I'm not saying this is the new big thing. I'm just putting it out there that I'm proud of me and the homies for thinking about something that's a little bit off, out of the way. And you guys tell me if we're onto something, okay? Because we're a team. So one of the things I liked about green coming up as far as hand destruction, and this is kind of like a fun thing we're working on, and we'll see where it goes. One of the things that I've been liking, though, is the new Realm of the God cards. Even though yellow has the best one, and greens isn't as good, obviously, it does serve as a new Cells Kamehameha. Not as good, because they don't get to, like, you don't get to choose the card for them, but it's still a 15k that defensively makes him rip a card from hand. And in a deck that untaps 2, I can see the energy being good for this. So all of us are trying different builds. This is the build that I'm liking. I'm playing Cells Kamehameha and the Champa. I'm playing Rosie at 3 of. Rosie is a card of obviously deflect, 3-drop. And when you play it, they have to drop 2 cards and it gets triple attack only for this turn. Rosie is actually incredible because every attack, like if you get them down, like you want to drop after you awaken. Do you know what I mean? Like you want things to do before. You don't want to Ribrianne them turn 2 is something we were talking about, because Ribrianning them turn 2 is like a waste. You wanna use the activate main on the backside first, and then use shit like Ribrianne, and then use shit like Rosie, right? You want to use all of your effects to drop them later after the awakening turn, right? So this comes in like perfect turn 3, but you do need to use things before you awaken because he does untap too. And the perfect unison that we've been thinking about is the King Vegeta unison. I think finally we have a leader that can play this unison. And he's perfect because every turn he's alive, he becomes so much value. You tap 3 for him. You awaken. You untap those 2 energy. And now Cells Kamehameha and Champa are alive for a defensive turn. And dropping them down to 9 with the leader skill, right? And then swinging with King Vegeta, knowing that they're going to have to take it, because if they don't, like, they want to combo out of the leader swing, because the leader swing is the one that's critical. So if you get them down to that 9, and you swing with King Vegeta, and they take that one, you can just activate main, and have him drop back down to 9. So this leader is kind of a nightmare to deal with. It keeps him, like, checked at 9. I can totally see you guys playing this deck differently, where like it draws more. Check out Connor's deck in this page that almost topped in Tampa. He was playing Raditz, but his strategy wasn't to just have 50 cards that make your opponent's hand drop. He had a lot of draw power. So like I'm sure if he got his hand on this deck, he could make something similar that's really good. But for those of you that don't know what King Vegeta does, his +1 is that you choose one of your opponent's battle cards ignoring barrier or one of their cards in your hand and you put it in the drop area. That's incredible. So like again, you get them to 9, you swing with something that's not critical, they take the life if they want, and then you get them back down to 9, and then use any sort of hand destruction effects you have in your hand. And that really puts your opponent in a shitty position, because then they have to combo out of weird attacks that they wouldn't combo out of usually, or else they just crit a life, right? And then now they're at 8 cards in hand, and then you swing at them with like a critical leader, and then you're drawing, and then it looks really bad really quickly. And then now, for example, on turn 3, you still have those 2 energy up for something defensive like a Cells Kamehameha or a Champa, and it just like feels really good. It's weird. Another thing, obviously, we're playing Charismatic Villain at 4. I was thinking about Samasu. Some of the boys are testing it. I don't like the Samasu, just because I feel like Samasu is better with Demigra. You guys should try it with Demigra, especially on a leader that wants to like awaken. Demigra is also good barrier removal. So if you guys want to try out the Demigra Unison, it's not bad. Whenever a leader has a weak front side, Demigra Unison really helps them. Especially if you want to do Samasu. So if you guys want to go down that path, definitely do it. I just really like the King Vegeta Unison. And the barrier removal is really nice, especially against decks like AOD or something that want that like barrier card on board. It's really cool. Ribrianne is like a 4 of. Again, this is a burst deck. So you're going to have a lot of like cards in your drop area. Just remember, you can't just Ribrianne turn 2. Don't do Ribrianne on turn 2, because obviously you get a free like drop 6 when you awaken, right? So definitely be careful with that. Homicidal Clone at 3 of. I'm still messing with the numbers. You guys can change this. Dormant at 2. You guys can change that however you like. I like clones more than Dormant, especially in a deck that I want to awaken on, but you guys play with that however you want. This boo's insane. At locals, Julian Rodriguez, shout out for like half of this deck to him. He plays a much different list than me, but this is the route I'm going with. But this boo's insane. It has Deflect and Revenge. Well, this card is in rest mode. Your opponent can attack your leader card unless they drop 2 cards each time. And I'm talking about like any attack. When this card is played from your hand, you choose all of your non-token cards in all battle areas and unison cards ignoring barrier. Negate their skills, place them in the owner's drop areas. Your opponent chooses 2 cards in her hand and discards them. If your leader card is a mono green magic card, place those cards under your leader card. Obviously, that last part isn't going to work as well as you want to, but it is a huge, like, this is a dark hole. You're basically dark holing your opponent, and then they can't swing at you next turn. Auto, if you have 5 or more energy, if this card is placed in your drop area from your battle area by an opponent's skill, you play it from the drop area. So this card, and it's like, this is a nuts effect. I'm running it at 2. It's a 0-5k combo. Remember when, like, big bosses were like 10k combo? Thank God, I love it. I love 0-5k. Now, here's the thing, and here's the room that you guys can play around with. I'm having fun with this deck. I know that you guys watching can make really good competitive versions of this deck, but I'm having fun with the new cards coming out in it. I think that once you get your opponent to a point where they're starving for cards like this Vegeta and the Hit and the Goku become like Ribriand in a way, where Ribriand works in the way that, like, you tap 2 energy and they drop 2 cards. Now, if you swing with a card like Vegeta, right, because Vegeta's a dual attacker, and if he KOs a battle card, your opponent chooses 1 card in the hand and discards it, right, once per turn. You play it once you have 3 or more energy for 2, once you're comboing with it, right? If you're swinging with this guy and their hand is already low, this is a perfect card to go with this leader because they're already making such bad mistakes. So, like, once he's on board, if they're over defending themselves, they're just taking themselves down for no reason. So, like, I can either, like, this is a 20k dual attack, right? And they're going to drop a card of their choosing. Them over comboing for things that they don't want to save is better than Vegeta's effect. This is a card that's very deceiving. It's very weird. Hand control takes a lot of thinking. I'm not gonna lie with you. Like, I'm not the greatest hand control player, but I've seen from some of the best, and this card might be onto something as far as this deck goes. And then it really sets up the next cards really well. Again, Hit Assassin Strike. Once you get them to 9 cards, and they can read what your game is, that, like, okay, I can swing at your life. If you're taking it, I'm going to activate main again on leader and bring you right back down to 9. So they're going to start over comboing on stupid shit. So, like, if you're using these cards, then that's going to make their risk to loss ratio, like, way higher. They're going to, again, for 2 energy, you're going to lose 1 card in hand and 1 energy, and 2 energy, but that's going to feel like a free Ribriand. It's like you're putting him in a hostage situation with Hit Assassin Strike. I know that you guys are thinking right now, like, oh, but this feels like so bad. All they gotta do is combo over it. And my point is, like, exactly, fuck it, let them combo over it, and they're gonna drop 3 cards. I'd rather them, honestly, like, sometimes I'd rather them drop 3 cards than play this card, even though this card is amazing, don't get me wrong. So, for example, let's go into Hit real quick. He's Barrier, which is really good, dual attack. This is probably my favorite one. If your leader card is green, your opponent has 2 or more energy, and this card is in your combo area. When one of your green battle cards attacks and KOs an opponent's battle card, play this card from your combo area. This is a really controlled deck. It goes a little longer than usual. You're going to have to sideboard for real control decks, obviously. But this is very mid-range. You're going to do this turn 4, I'm guessing, turn 3, because you want to do this after the Vegeta if you can set it up, or find a way to do it. And then limit 1, if this card is in rest mode, when your opponent attacks, he may choose 2 cards in their hand and discard them. If they don't, negate the attack, and your opponent cannot attack for the turn. This is really good. So, like, getting these cards on board, and also, he's dual attack too, so he's a huge enabler. Him and Vegeta are huge enablers for each other, right? Because obviously you want to attack with the green battle cards in order to use them. Double strike, limit 1, this one's for 1. So, like, Hit is my favorite, but Goku's my favorite too because he's the cheapest. But Vegeta's also great because he doesn't need any setup to come on board. Vegeta's probably the first one you're going to be playing. So this one, if your leader card is green and this card is in your combo area, 0-5k combo, when one of your green battle cards attacks and kills an opponent's card, play this card from your combo area. When this card attacks, you can either have your opponent KO one of their battle cards of your choosing, or they drop 1 card from hand. And again, this is sick because, like, comboing up and then tapping one is just making them say, I either want them to play this dumbass Goku or have to drop cards from hand. So, like, again, if you play this, I feel like if you grind and put a lot of time in this deck, you can really put people in bad scenarios. I love these new cards in green, man. Like, they're not... Hand control isn't just for anybody to pick up. Hand control is really hard, especially we saw this in Cell Surge. A lot of people picking up Cell Surge that had no idea what to do with it. I think hand control, I'm sorry, is like big brain move. And if you're playing hand control, like, you have to actually put in the time. This isn't like brainless. Green is an uphill battle. If you want to be cool and play something that like not a lot of people are expecting to net deck and be good at, this is a cool deck to play. It's really fun. As far as the rest, I like Bionic Blitz as a super combo. When you combo that, your opponent bottom decks a battle card. I would play the Vegeta one, but like this is just free. So like when you're going for game, it's over. Like if they have 3 cards in hand and you Bionic Blitz, it's just like, well, fuck. Like what I thought my combo was isn't. And if you have multiple Bionic Blitz and you're shotgunning for game, it's really a wrap. 4 newfound power Son Gohan. My toxic trait is that I don't choose the nice art on cards when I'm doing deck profiles, and I should. But yeah, I have like the common non-foil art on this profile, I'm sorry. But yeah, 1 drop, you take a life when you swing with him, he becomes 15k critical. It's just a cool way to awaken, you know, keep their hand. I mean, again, having a lot of hand before you awaken with the leader is not great, because you want them to drop a lot of cards early on. But so you can play Zerbuto or the double strike guy or some shit instead if you'd like. But I like Newfound Power Son Gohan. You can play any secret rare. It doesn't matter. Lineage is cool. I just like her because I like to get rid of unisons. Unisons are hard to get rid of. This is probably in my opinion, the best SCR in the game is Pan and Kai. If you're playing a deck that's starving for energy, that's aggressive, that's going really wide really early, Pan's cool, because you're going to need a free negate for defense, right? Like Jiren or any red deck really that's not U7 Goku. But if you're playing like a deck that goes a long way, as long as you're not blue, I think Kai's is way better. Especially just because he gets rid of unisons. That's such a like useful and insane ability. This deck is like Dredgeku in a way that like he does put things in your drop area. So maining, I loved the days where Vegex was a deck, because I loved maining Koichikai. Maining Koichikai is my favorite thing in the world. And going back to a deck that like does this is amazing. So you guys don't have to, but I just think Koichikai is like a super underrated card. I love it. So you don't want to overroam in his deck. So like it sucks because like I miss Mira. It would be so cool to give your leader 5k, but it needs sparking to be good. So the only reason I'm playing Fighting Against Fate is because like there's going to be a lot of grindy games that I've seen with this leader that like you get him down to 2 or 1 life and they have 1 card in hand and you have like 2 cards in hand. It's just like, can I go for game here? And like this guy will save your life. Like playing 2 Bardock, Fighting Against Fates, this is like, it's game over, you know what I mean? Also, instead of Champa, I was playing Champa here at first. This is just like a 15k Champa. When you combo with this card during your turn, choose one of your attacking green android cards, and it gets 5k power and double strike for the turn. You know, this is like, oh boy, what's the fucking card? The mass say. Remember when Vegex played like 4 Champas and like 4 Kais? Kraken Space Time, right. This is like the Kraken Space Time for this deck. It's just 5k more. I like it. Anytime I was playing 2, you can play 3 Champas in this, honestly, just to give it to your leader. But I am playing this Android 20 because it's cute. It's cute. What am I gonna say? The side deck, you guys can do whatever the fuck you want in your side deck. You gotta put 4 apes in it. You know what? I can see a world where you mainboard 4 apes, simply because of the fact that like that's a great turn 2 in here. Get your hand really high, and then concentrate on the hand destruction later, after you awaken, for the reasons I already explained. But I'm sideboarding it against other... Oh, by the way, I'm so sorry, I forgot to talk about the most important thing about this leader. This leader... where is it at? He places cards in the drop area. He doesn't put them there. So, like, if you're playing against... if you're sideboarding, like, hand control hate. It's not gonna do ass. It's not gonna do shit against this leader, because this leader places. He doesn't say drop your hand to 9. He says place cards. So if you want a Deborah, or if you want a Gohan, or any of that shit, it's not gonna work because he places the cards in the drop area. Really fucking cool. Let's see. I love Mickey Kabura is really good. You guys, I think this is gonna be a really good sideboard going forward. Also, like in the best of 1 sideboard, I feel better about having Son Goku Saiyan Instincts. I think that in the best of 1 format, bear with me with what the fuck I'm about to say. I think that we should have part of our main board in our sideboard. And here's what I mean. I think that we should have a rock and a paper, right? In our fucking main deck. And if we see scissors that we're playing against, take out the paper and put in more rocks. Is what the fuck I'm saying making sense to you? So like or like have things in your main board ready to be sided out if you're in a best of 1 siding format. So for example, let's say that I'm maining Draw Apes, right? If I'm playing against a deck that I know I may not need them, bring him out and bring in something that... So now, by the way, your sideboard and your main board are looking a little different nowadays with this new best of 1 format that I really like. But if you're just playing best of 3, ignore what the fuck I just said. Make some room for the Draw Apes for the early turns. But I think I'm going to be siding in the Draw Apes every game, and then siding out something that I think I may not need against a deck. Like, if I'm playing against, like, Jiren, I may just take out Newfound Power Son Gohan and then adding the 4 Apes. If I'm playing against something that's, like, really control, I can see myself putting in the Apes. Excuse me. And then taking out some shit that I may not need. Maybe you guys want to take out the Clones or the Dormants. The Dormants against some of those other control decks, Dormant may not do shit, so maybe take out Dormant. Maybe take out Koitz against some of these decks if they don't need it. Always have the cards that you're ready to take out, depending on the matchup, in front of your deck, so that when you see their leader and that timer starts, that you have a minute to go, you can easily pick it out, grab your Dripes or whatever the fuck it is that you're gonna put in there, and put them in real quick. Okay, Mickey Kabura is obvious. BMS, I don't have to explain myself. I've been citing this Clash of the Mass Warriors card all the time. Activate battle, you choose one of your opponent's unisons, and they have to either remove a marker from it, or if they don't, you can't take strike damage for the rest of the turn. So that's a pretty sweet kind of fucking Heron's Lineage activate battle, but for unisons. Like if they're playing blue and they want to play that, because a good player isn't going for a game with like a 3-drop card without barrier, without deflect, really, like, unless they're pushed to that level. They're usually going to go for a game with a leader or a unison. So Clash is a really good card. If you're playing against aggro, this is the Topo Boo. Obviously you want to play this. If you're playing against like Sin Shenron, this is a good control card against it, or something tall, who knows. What do you guys think? Am I capping? Am I fucking losing my mind with this leader? How bad is this? One of the worst takes I've ever had. Let me know. Am I capping or not? Cap or not? Comment below. Let me know. Oh, or do you guys have any other list? I can see, by the way, one thing I love about this. I'm sure you guys all have way different versions of this deck. What do you guys like about this deck? What do you not like about this deck? What do you think your deck would look like? Let me know. Let the other people watching know, because, hey, maybe there's some people that take green seriously around here, and they want to fucking know.